Yo, it's me, DubleDice. A little birdie told me that a very special someone is having a hard time trying to figure out what class they want to main for Lost Ark for the NA/EU release. And that little birdie told me that very special someone is you. Now I've got good news and I've got bad news. The good news is that I killed the bird. The even better news is that you came to the right place for all your Lost Ark information. In this video, I will be assisting you in selecting the class that perfectly suits your wants and needs. So let's stop wasting your precious time and jump right into our first class, the Berserker. Are you tired of the same old stinky dinky combat where you press this button and hit that button and do damage to this guy and that guy, but none of it just impacts enough? Do you post pictures of your muscular body on Instagram with inspirational quotes that nobody cares about? Well, Berserker may be the perfect fit for you. Carrying a massive sword, this class hits harder than my dad. They bring with them absolute unyielding annihilation anywhere they go. However, as a trade-off, this class's attack speed is extremely slow. This class is relatively beginner friendly, but do not be mistaken, it does not mean that the class is easy to play. As a result of having lengthy animations, you will need to be very careful and make sure that your abilities are guaranteed to hit before casting them. Their class mechanic, Burst, is essentially your very own version of a boss enrage. Upon activating, you become the motherfucking man, increasing your movement speed, attack speed, and critical strike chance for a duration. You also gain access to Bloody Rush. It unleashes a flurry of devastating attacks, then finishes with a final strike. Bloody Rush is a 37-second cooldown and can only be used while Burst is active. Next up is Paladin. Do you desire to sanctify the lands with divine righteousness? Cast down unholy monstrosities capable of wiping out entire civilizations with the wrath of God? Send the burning legion back through the dark portal? Well, look no further. The Paladin, a melee caster, uses punishment skills and holy skills as his tools of devastation. Dealing damage to enemies builds your piety meter, your class mechanic, which also passively generates while in combat. Once full, you can either activate Sacred Executioner or Holy Aura. Activating either ability starts to drain your piety meter. Activating Sacred Executioner causes your punishment skills to bring the punishment, causing their size and damage to be increased by a significant amount. Some say when activating Sacred Executioner, massive tumors sprout in your brain, increasing your intellect by 50%. The counterpart to Sacred Executioner is Holy Aura. Upon activating Holy Aura, a massive AoE spawns, which buffs the damage of you and your allies inside of it. More suited towards letting enemies focus you while you laugh in their face as they desperately try to whittle down your health to no avail while you slap the ever-living fuck out of them with a giant gun-lance to bring the motherfucking pain? Well, consider Gunlance. Gunlance is the tank archetype in Lost Ark. Although technically classified as a support, these massive hunks of testosterone are built for battle. Dealing damage accumulates shield meter. While having any amount of shield meter, you can either activate Battlefield Stance or Defensive Stance. Battlefield Shield causes you to jump up and slam down your giant metal cojones on top of the enemy's forehead, dealing damage. You also become immobilized and unable to move, but shield yourself and all nearby allies for a large portion of your health, for up to 5 seconds. The amount of time is dependent on how much shield meter you had before activating. Using Defensive Stance causes you to enter, you guessed it, a defensive stance. While in Defensive Stance, you move 50% slower but shield your health. The amount of shield is dependent on how much shield meter you currently have. The more shield meter you have, the bigger the shield. The less you have, the smaller the shield. While Defensive Stance is active, your shield meter does periodically drain. Now for my favorite part of the video, ad time. Uh-oh, it's that time of day. Time for old DubleDice to sell out. Don't be acting Demicky. Go to www.twitch.tv/DubleDice for all that Lost Ark streaming content your schmexy little brain can handle. Smash that motherfucking follow button and begin your journey into my motherfucking butthole, homie. Please also give this video a fat old thumbs up for that sweet, sweet old YouTube algorithm, baby. Now, back to the video. Point of view, it's 1987, and you are at the local arcade you always go to, playing your favorite game, Street Fighter! Flash forward, it's 2022, and Lost Ark is out. You're playing your all-time favorite class, the Street Fighter the Wardancer. Wardancer is all about dealing damage to enemies to build your elemental orbs, which are needed in order to cast your esoteric skills. Esoteric skills can either consume 1 or 2 orbs, depending on the skill. You can build a maximum of 3 elemental orbs. There really is not much more depth to this class, but that's not a bad thing, because they are still incredibly fun to play and satisfying, as well as those of you that don't really like too much complexity in classes may find this more favorable for you. If you have just always wanted so badly to beat the ever-living fuck out of every enemy that you come into contact with, then I would definitely suggest playing Scrapper. Almost all of Scrapper's abilities are literally meant to make you feel so strong that you can literally rip the Earth's crust with just your bare hands. If none of that sells you for some reason, then just think of this class as Saitama from One Punch Man. Scrapper has 2 different energy resources, stamina and shock. Scrapper's abilities are also separated into 2 different groups, stamina skills and shock skills. Using stamina skills drains your stamina energy, but generates shock energy, and vice versa. This class also doesn't really have a complicated class mechanic. However, it can be somewhat challenging to manage and balance your 2 different resources. If there were ever to be an anime character within Lost Ark, well, it would be Soulfist. And you and I both know which anime they would be from. Soulfist's mechanic is known as Hype. Not the coolest name, but whatever. Soulfist can basically enter Super Saiyan mode, which increases your cooldown reduction, your attack speed, and your attack damage. Additionally, entering Hype restores a portion of your energy, which is a replacement to mana. There are 3 stages to Hype, go figure. Each stage increases the potency of the buffs you receive, as well as the amount of energy restored. After Hype ends, you enter a Fatigue mode, which basically means you can't reuse Hype until 10 seconds, 25 seconds, or 50 seconds has passed. The time depends on which stage of Hype you were in when it ended. Oh, and I forgot to mention that this class literally has Spirit Bomb, Pogger's champion. Striker is the male variant to Wardancer. Their class mechanic is identical to one another, and their abilities are roughly the same. However, it is worth noting, in my opinion, that the visuals for their abilities use tigers instead of dragons. The biggest differences for them are their awakening abilities, and some variations to their basic abilities. If you are a raging psychopath, love massive explosions and quaking destruction, well, maybe see a psychologist. Or quench your thirst for the boom boom by playing Artillerist. God damn this class. Super slow, like crazy slow abilities, but oh man, does this class pack a fucking punch. You will definitely need a therapist on speed dial because you are going to probably be getting the shit beaten out of you on every boss encounter you ever fight for the first 10 or 20, maybe 100 attempts. Artillerist's class mechanic is all about building firepower by dealing damage with your abilities. Once full, you gain a buff that increases your damage by 30% and lasts 20 seconds. You are also then able to activate barrage mode. This causes you to become mounted on a stationary turret that can rotate 360 degrees. Your abilities are also replaced with 4 new abilities only available in barrage mode. Technically, you can stay in barrage mode forever. However, it's not efficient to do that because while you are in barrage mode, you cannot generate firepower at all. Dante from Devil May Cry decided to make an appearance in Lost Ark as a class. For some reason, he goes by Deadeye now. Deadeye is definitely going to be a class favorite for those of you that play StarCraft because it has the highest BPM of any class. It has a total of 16 abilities spread out between 3 different weapons that you use. You have the ability to swap between a pistol with 8 abilities, a shotgun with 4 abilities, and a sniper rifle with 4 abilities. You swap between these guns using the X and Z skill by default. Though this class has insanely high damage output capabilities and ridiculous amounts of mobility, they struggle with one issue in my opinion: chronic animation lock, or CAL. Seriously, this class has some abilities that take up to 3 or even 5 seconds long before they go off. That's a lot of time to be standing still in a fight. So, while playing Deadeye, you will need to make sure your positioning is perfect. Sharpshooter uses a futuristic bow which fires crazy looking arrows or bullets. Either way, they look fucking awesome. Dealing damage to enemies builds your hawk meter. Once full, you can summon your companion, Silverhawk. While Silverhawk is active, your hawk meter starts to deplete. You also gain access to 2 new abilities known as Stormwings and Last Rush. Stormwings calls down Silverhawk at the targeted location, dealing AoE damage. This has a 12-second cooldown. While Final Rush tells Silverhawk, "Hey buddy, it's time to kamikaze." He then flies into the targeted location, exploding when hitting the first enemy. Final Rush also fully depletes your hawk meter because you are literally blowing up your bird. So good job on that one. Gunslinger is the female variant to Deadeye. Their abilities do not change much, and their class mechanic is the same. They still use a pistol, shotgun, and a sniper rifle. Their biggest differences are their 2 awakening abilities, as well as some variations to their basic abilities. When I think of bards, I do not think of someone or something that is very cool. In fact, I think of bards as something very uncool or very unepic. However, it must be said that even I could imagine myself playing this class as an alt. Besides the horrible musical note sounds that ring in my eardrums every time I hit one of my keys to cast a spell, they're pretty fucking awesome. In fact, some of their abilities are even really satisfying to use, even if they don't look the part. As a bard, your attacks generate Serenade Meter, which has 3 different bars that you can fill. Once you have filled at least 1 bar, you can either cast Serenade of Courage or Serenade of Salvation. Serenade of Courage increases your damage for 1 whole minute and increases all nearby allies' damage for 15 seconds. Whereas Serenade of Salvation drops an AoE that heals allies inside of it a fixed number of times. Activating either ability consumes all Serenade bars. The potency of the buffs, as well as how many times someone is healed, depends on how many bars were consumed upon activating. The Summoner class in Lost Ark is different from any Summoner class I've ever played in any other game. Although you can summon pets to fight for you, most of the summoner's abilities are just spells that have the visual of spirit-esque animals. Although summoner's class mechanic is very satisfying to use. Dealing damage with skills or summoning elementals builds your elemental orbs. You can build a total of 7 orbs. These orbs are needed in order to cast the varying ancient summons. Each one costs a different amount of orbs to cast. Ash, costing 3 orbs, summons a gigantic foot that steps down on enemies, giving new meaning to the phrase "step on me." Alamaji, costing 4 orbs, summons an ancient dragon at the targeted location, decimating all in its way. Phoenix, costing 5 orbs, summons a phoenix that travels towards the targeted location, obliterating everything in its path. Jahia and Lydius, costing 6 orbs, summon 2 spirits that create a maelstrom at the targeted location, which deals damage and then explodes, dealing even more damage. And finally, Akir, costing all 7 orbs, summons a spirit at the targeted location, which deals a massive amount of AoE damage where it's summoned. If you are coming from World of Warcraft and really need something to scratch that Demon Hunter itch that no other game before has ever been able to achieve, well, do I have some news for you. After Illidan obviously whooped Sargeras' ass in his eternal battle, he went to Arcasia and taught all of the assassins how to play Demon Hunter. And guess what? Now, nobody can make fun of you, because this time you've got way more than just 2 buttons to press. Dealing damage with abilities generates encroachment. Once full, you can activate Demonize. Upon activating, you become a demon, increasing your movement speed and maximum health by 20%. Kind of like Metamorph. Your abilities are also replaced in demon form with 6 new abilities only available in said form. Your encroachment drains while you are in demon form, and once it is fully drained, you return back to normal. I'm not sure if this part will exist on NA or EU, but on the Russian servers, for those of you that love Demon Hunter as much as I do, some of your abilities are known as Fel abilities. Just thought that was an interesting piece of trivia. When it comes to Deathblade, they are a pretty hard nut to crack in terms of relatability. From my perspective, no class in any game can be used as a reference to these badass dual-wielding champions. Slice, dice, fry it up nice. This beautiful class does it all. High burst damage, fast attacks, and above all, one of the coolest class mechanics in the game. Dealing damage with your abilities fills your Blade Art orbs. You can have a maximum of 3 orbs full at any given time. After one is full, you can cast Blade Art. This ability has multiple varying effects. Casting Blade Art with at least 1 orb full increases your movement speed, attack speed, and attack power by 10%. If 2 orbs are full, then the buff increases your movement speed by 10%, your attack speed by 15%, and your attack power by 20%. If 3 orbs are full, then the buff increases your movement speed by 10%, your attack speed by 20%, and your attack power by 30%. On top of all of that, activating Blade Art restores a portion of your mana depending on how many orbs were full before using, as well as reducing the cooldown of your remaining abilities depending on how many orbs were full. If all of that was confusing, then do not worry. There's more. Additionally, while Blade Art is active, you can reactivate the ability to cast Blade Burst, a big old fat slam dunk. Blade Burst's range and damage is dependent on how many orbs are currently full before using. Blade Burst also fully depletes all remaining Blade Art orbs. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all the available classes for the NA and EU release. Over time, more and more classes will be released for these regions, and I might make videos on them to help people out to see if these classes are something that they would want to play. But until then, that's all from me. Thanks again. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a fat old thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. It would be much appreciated. Also, leave a comment in the comment section down below. All right, that's it. Peace.